Is Toronto Blue Jays GM Ross Atkins done making moves in free agency? Some reports seem to think he is not after the Jays missed out on Robbie Grossman yesterday, and Victor Martinez, former All-Star, switch-hitting catcher, has joined the Jays front office. So we'll break that down and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. I want to thank you all for the support that we've been getting, and shout out to Nick for holding it down while I've been busy. Had a basketball game yesterday, so that's why I couldn't make it. He said school. It wasn't true. I don't do school on Friday nights. I try to disconnect from classes on Friday nights, but I had basketball, and Nick held it down, so shout out to you, Nick.
Yeah, no worries. And make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're 30 subs away from 6,200, so let's hopefully get there by the end of, maybe the end of the weekend. That would be ideal. But make sure to hit the subscribe button. Now let's get right into the first topic, which is the GM says more moves may be coming. Obviously, spring training is happening now. Catchers are reporting, pitchers are reporting. The GM is speaking a lot. Ross Atkins went on to say this. So this was initially said, talking about Yusei Kikuchi, taking pressure off the young core, and then talked about Kikuchi, Ryu, and more. And then he went on to say, quote, it may or may not be related to the Jays' starting pitching depth, but Atkins says he continues to be active in talks to continue adding to his team and is doing so via different avenues. We're always in talks. I've had 3 today. I had several yesterday, a little more focused on free agency. And I guess very quickly, we can get your opinion on the Robbie Grossman signing to Texas, considering this was actually made before that signing. So maybe the Jays were in talks with Robbie Grossman. I spoke on it in yesterday's video, but it seems like they're not done making moves either way. I'm just very curious to see now where they pivot, because if their goal was free agency, Robbie Grossman is now gone, so I don't really know who's left in the free agent market.
Yeah, 1 year, $2 million is quite a bargain that the Rangers got, and they've had a sneaky good offseason. I wouldn't say sneaky. They got Jacob deGrom and a ton of other valuable pieces as well. Nathan Eovaldi, just made their team much better. Still don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but they had a very good offseason. Now Robbie Grossman, he went there because he'll probably play every day. And did he want to come here? I mean, the Jays were obviously linked to him. They've been linked to him for years, but I don't know. I think there's internal options that could take that spot that Robbie Grossman were to fill, and they have 3 starting outfielders. So one of them might get injured. Probably will happen sometime during the season, but I'm sure that's what Whit Merrifield is for. That's what all those second basemen are for. So I think they'll be okay. They don't need Robbie Grossman. It would have been a great luxury to have, but it's not the end of the world, I think.
Yeah, he'll ultimately be starting in Texas, you'd assume. That's probably why the Jays weren't able to get him. And like you said, Whit Merrifield, I saw a tweet today basically saying that, Whit Merrifield as the 4th outfielder isn't the worst option. There's tons of teams out there that would love to have Whit Merrifield as someone who can slide into the outfield. But at the same time, I spoke on it yesterday. Nathan Lukes is currently on the 40-man. He could be a guy to slide in, though the weird thing is that he hits left-handed, so that wouldn't really fit very well into the other ones. But do you have any final, maybe potential internal options that you think the Jays could go prospect-wise? I spoke about Otto Lopez a little bit yesterday, but do you have any other ones before we move on?
Yeah, that was the one I was going to mention there. It was Otto Lopez. Obviously, Kevin Biggio, but same thing. He's a lefty. I wouldn't necessarily trust him in the outfield either. He's not a plus defender over there, as he is at second base. I think Santiago Espinal could be one of the options, and I believe one of the comments in the last video mentioned it. A major league shortstop, which Espinal is, can play outfield. They can adjust to that, and he's quick. He's a good defender. He's got good instincts. He reacts to the ball well. So I'm sure he can adjust to that. But I don't know. I don't think Nathan Luke's. You don't want to trust a career minor leaguer if someone goes down with injury. You want to trust a guy that's been proven to hit at the major league level, especially to play left field or to play right field. So yeah, I would probably go with an internal option on the major league roster right now as opposed to someone on the 40-man.
Yeah, I agree. And let us know what your thoughts are on that. I know we discussed it yesterday a bit, but let's move on to the second topic now, which is the Jays hire former All-Star. This happened a couple of days ago. And of course, we're talking about Victor Martinez. And a few things to show here, him working with Vladdy as well. But this was the initial news a couple days ago saying Victor Martinez has joined the Blue Jays front office as a special assistant. He has a strong relationship with Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins from their time together in Cleveland. And we're already seeing, maybe the beginning of the impact. As yesterday, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Victor Martinez were hugging at batting practice. Vlad told told him that he's known Victor since he was very young, and Senior is a good friend with him, and maybe Victor can help him. They can work together, build a good relationship, and maybe help Vladdy improve at anything he needs to improve on. Obviously, he's a phenomenal hitter, but Victor was a former All Star himself, a very good DH, a very good player in general. But what are your thoughts on this hire? It obviously can't have any negatives, you wouldn't think.
Of course, and having Don Mattingly there as well has already helped Vladdy. At first base defensively, they've been working together side by side, and those great players, they have something different about them. They want to reach levels that other players are not capable of, and I think Vladdy is one of those players. He wants to be the best hitter in the league. He wants to be one of the best players in the league, if not the best. So he's working tirelessly. He's there early. He's there, probably one of the first ones to be there, and one of the last ones to leave as well. So that's the type of player that Vladdy is. It's the type of player that Bo is. All those great players that the Jays have, they're like that. And having former All-Stars that had long careers in the major leagues, that were great players in the major leagues as well, it doesn't hurt, like you said. And Victor Martinez was as good as they come. He played on some great Detroit teams, switch hitting guy, knows the routine. If you're a switch hitter, you know the routine of the major leagues. So Victor Martinez is going to provide some valuable insight to those guys.
Yeah, and Vladdy's been working really hard. We'll probably be covering that in tomorrow's video. He's done a lot of things. He said a lot of things about his offseason routine and his regime. So we'll discuss that in a future video. But like you said, it's exciting to see. And I don't know, I'm excited to see what a lot of, coaching staff changes. Obviously, John Slaughter was hired full time, but a lot of coaching staff changes. I'm excited to see how it pays dividends. But let's move on to the third topic now, which is a very, very interesting one, Peter, that I want to get your reaction to, which is the Jays are ranked second, the second most improved team in the offseason by GMs. So we're going to get this open here. This was from the Stark's latest. 29 executives, coaches, scouts were polled. Jays voted second most improved team, and they love the belt deal too. And here are the others. So Rangers were voted the most improved team in the AL with 28 votes. Then the Blue Jays at 17, Yankees 16, Angels 12, Mariners 8, Twins 7. And there was also an excerpt, which I'm not going to pop up, but it's basically just praising the Brandon Belt deal, saying it's going to be a phenomenal deal, a sneaky deal, which is also great. So what are your thoughts on this? And then I guess after you react to that, we can discuss the couple of the other teams on the list.
That's funny because I don't see the Red Sox anywhere to be found over there. We mentioned our buddy Jonathan Papelbon the other day, who said the Jays were destined to finish last in the AL East. But now, some executives, people that have a job in the major leagues and not talking about the major leagues, seem to think that the Blue Jays have been one of the most improved teams. So it's a little bit funny to me. I don't know. I don't know what you think of that, Nick. But yes, the Jays did improve. They improved every single facet of their team, whether it be their lineup, whether it be their defense, their base running. Their bullpen as well is much improved, and their starting rotation kind of stayed the same, but you're replacing Ross Stripling with Chris Bassett, and I'm expecting a Jose Barrios bounce back as well. So I'm excited to see what the team can do. I cannot stress it enough. And February 29th, that's the day when it all gets put on the field for us to see for the first time this year, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, I agree, and I like the list in general. Jays second, Yankees obviously they got Carlos Rodon, which was kind of the biggest move of the probably for the Yankees offseason, of course. And the Rangers they improved, like you said. I'm not sure if they make the playoffs. They probably make a strong push, but like you said with Jonathan Papelbon, we had a lot of people in the comments hating on Jonathan Papelbon, rightfully so in that case for that take. But overall, I'm a big fan of the list, and I think the Jays made some great moves. And it was good to see the Brandon Belt move getting some spotlight because I think
Yeah,
that
that
move.
that was weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that move might end up being the biggest move of the not the biggest move of the Jays offseason, but a big sneaky move, but an interesting one to point out among the other moves the Jays have made in the offseason. But I guess we'll move on now to the final topic, a quick one before we wrap it up, which is the Addison Barger watch, which was tweeted this morning as of Saturday, February 18th. And Peter, I know you'll love to hear this, and we'll pop it up from Keegan Matheson saying, worth watching later in camp. Addison Barger, one of the Jays' top prospects, is expected to play some outfield. Barger has a massive arm, which should translate. There's some super attractive, super utility upside there. What are your thoughts on this? Would you rather him stay with his infield, use his strong arm, or do you think you'd like to see him transition to the outfield? Because obviously the outfield, as of the Blue Jays' current roster construction, would be probably his main avenue to get to the major leagues.
Yeah, now I've been on record saying that this is a possibility for Addison Barger because of his arm, and he's able to play the outfield because he's athletic. He's a shortstop as well, so it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to go to the corners. And we also agreed, Nick, that this is probably the last year that Kevin Biggio gets to prove himself at the major league level. And if he can't do it, if he shows that he's not a major league level player or can start at the major league level, then Addison Barger is probably going to take his job as that super utility guy. And if you are going to be a super utility guy, you want to be able to play every infield position and some corner outfield as well. And if you can do that, you become much more valuable than you were if you were just an infielder as a utility guy.
Yeah, and obviously, like we've discussed before, Addison Barger's main strength, as we've noticed here, is his arm. So that should translate to the outfield. I think he has a 65, something like that, arm grade, which would be very interesting.
Mhm.
And, if we
Mhm.
re-sign Matt Chapman, who knows where the Addison Barger could fit in, but they're going to make him fit in because he's such a, gifted player in general. And maybe in left field or somewhere he sneaks in. And especially if Kevin Biggio doesn't have a bounce back year, which I'm not sure he's going to. I hope he does, but I'm not sure how much playing time he gets. But let us know what your thoughts are on Addison Barger, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more Addison Barger talk as camp continues on. But that'll wrap up this video. We'll continue to have the news for you. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.